Hello, Jenny Hall here for Trinity Stamps. Today I would like to share a fun card with a brand new stamp set from Trinity called Happy Hour. Do you like to imagine having a quarantini while you're under your stay-at-home orders? Well, you can do that now with the Happy Hour stamp set. I'm so excited. It's so cute. So I'm going to use a few new products today in this project, and I'm going to start by taking a top folding A2 sized card base, and I'm adhering some Post-it tape 1/4 of an inch from the outside edge on all sides. That's going to give me a white border that's just 1/4 of an inch around the card base. And I'm using some new to me inks. These are the Atelier inks from Ink on 3 that are carried in the Trinity shop. And I'm also using a Blending Buddy brush. I have it set up in my craft room that I have one brush for each ink. They're very affordable, so it's okay for me to just label them with a dot on the outside of the cover, and then I can grab the coordinating brush without needing to clean them in between colors. So this kind of ink is new to me. It's a hybrid ink. It's not a dye ink, and it's not a pigment ink. I guess it's an in-between, but it cleans up very nicely, and the colors play together really well. I'm mixing together red and orange, and I don't come out with any crazy colors. I mixed a lot of the colors together, just playing with them off camera. And I have to tell you guys that these inks are really, really fantastic. I haven't had a bad experience with any of the inks from the Ink on 3 line, and I thought I would share that with you today so that you can get a look at them if you've not tried them on your own. So the stencil that I'm using today is called Lots of Dots Slimline Stencil, and this is a new stencil from Trinity's new spring release. And if you notice how much larger it is than the card base, and that's because it is long enough to completely cover a slimline card, which is typically 8.5 inches tall, and you don't have to reposition and try to get that stencil in the right spot. It's genius. It's just perfect, and it works so well. And I can use it on an A2 sized card as well as a slimline card, which is a win-win. So I'm adding all of these colors of ink down onto the card base, and the colors are just going on so nice and easy. I just keep looking and waiting for something to go crazy, and it doesn't. In fact, this blue is just so beautiful and vibrant that it's just an absolutely perfect application. It's just wonderful. I know I sound crazy, but whenever I get a new product that I'm really excited about, then it's just one of those things where I just want to tell everybody about it and share it with everybody. I'm sorry for my dog barking. He's a little anxious. Everybody's at home during the coronavirus, and I guess I need a quarantini here. So I'm stamping the image onto a piece of watercolor paper with Blackout ink, and that is alcohol friendly and waterproof. And I used a stamp cleaner also from Ink on 3, and it works perfectly. When I had myself convinced that I did not need a stamp cleaner, here comes this stamp cleaner, and now I know I'm not going to be able to live without it. Crazy. So I wanted to show another way to use these inks, and so I'm going to do a little bit of watercoloring with them. If you have the ink refills, then you can just take a drop of ink and place it in the lid of the stamp pad, or you could put it on a palette or do like I did here and put it on my work surface, and that would work just the same as what I've done here. So I'm using just a typical water brush, and I watered down a section of that blue ink so that I could show exactly how nicely it dilutes, yet still holds its color. It's not as vibrant, but it definitely still looks blue. And for the cocktail portion, the liquid portion of the glass, I thought maybe it would be fun to make a drink that, like one of those crazy tropical drinks that mixes colors inside the glass. This is something I can dream about. I'm not really a big drinker, but I can dream about all these fun fruity drinks. So I'm using that green, which is called Green Goddess, and the blue, which is called, I think it's Peacock Blue. And I'm adding a second application of the light diluted blue over the glass portion because the paper just soaked it right up. And I'm going to make sure it's dry before I go any further. Now I'm going to fussy cut the image as there's not any dies. If this is a really popular set, we might be able to convince Trinity into getting some dies for this. And because this is watercolor paper and has a thick edge, I'm using a dark marker, this is a dark gray Tombow marker around the edge to make it look like there is no white cut edge. Now for the sentiment, I have a scrap of black paper here that I am treating generously with an anti-static tool, and I'm using another Ink on 3 ink pad, and this is Juicy Embossing pad. And friends, this is the best embossing pad that I've ever used, ever. I have really fallen in love with this ink, even better than my favorite Versamark clear sticky ink. Even a fresh Versamark pad in my book does not stand up to this ink. It's that good. You must give it a try to find out on your own. So I cleaned off all that extra powder, and guess what? The Quarantini word fits perfectly into one of the banners from the scalloped, I think it's called the Slimline Scallops Banners die set. It fit perfectly. So I used that to crop out my sentiment, and I'm going to adhere these pieces to the card base with some double-sided foam tape. I'm placing a little bit up on the top section and then a tiny strip down on the bottom section just to make sure that it stays nice and secure. Now, I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to place the glass versus the sentiment strip, but I knew I wanted the sentiment strip to anchor itself on the right side of the card. So I thought maybe I would place the glass over it in that little dividing area, but I thought maybe it would look better behind it. That way the black line is not broken up. And so I just lifted that back up and slid it underneath there. Now, here are the cutest little embellishments ever from Trinity. You know, Trinity is famous for having so many embellishments to choose from, and this is the large citrus embellishments, and they look like little fruit slices, which is absolutely perfect for this particular card. And I placed the green on the green section of the rainbow, and the yellow on the yellow section, and the orange on the orange section. It just kind of worked out where I could fit them all in the right place on the rainbow. And I'm going to use a sparkle pen from Spectrum Noir just to add some twinkle to the glass. And then there's a few bubbles on the stamp, and I used my white gel pen just to touch onto those bubbles. So fun. And quarantine time. Yes, it is quarantine time for me. And here's a look at a couple of more ideas on coloring in that glass. I used Copic markers to color those in. And here's our card again. Thank you so much for joining us at Trinity Stamps. Be sure to go over to our Facebook group and Instagram for more inspiration.